What's good, YouTube? We're back to another reaction. We got one from the dog Turtle Court. I've been watching his videos for a while, and I've just been watching his content kind of expand and watching him cover different anime. This one is on Blue Lock and how it is an unknown masterpiece. Allegedly, rage bait tactic. As always, please follow, like, and if you mess with the content, make sure you go down below, subscribe, hit that bell, and while you're there, check out our Discord community, which is linked down in the description. Once you click that link, you'll be notified. Once you click the link, accept the invite, and join, be notified every time I post a YouTube video, which is twice daily. And every time I go live, you'll also have the easiest way to contact me. But without further ado, let's go straight into it.
Okay, so what happens if a crazy person is given millions in order to create a superstar who can single-handedly win the World Cup? As you might know, the World Cup is the most popular sports event on the planet, with over 1 billion people watching the most recent final. However, in history...
So if you haven't seen the previous reaction, you won't get this. It's like 2 reactions ago, but I was trying to remember the name of like a place. I was talking about people watch anime all over the place. And it was Argentina. I settled for Austria, but it was Argentina that I was thinking of.
Only teams from Europe and South America have actually won it, with no team from Asia ever making the final.
Dang.
That's why in Season 1 of Blue Lock, Japan tries to fix this by hiring Jinpachi Ego. Ego is a former football player that no one seems to know, and his mission is to turn Japan from losers into World Cup winners. To accomplish this, his first job is to transform someone in Japan into the world's best striker, and today we're explaining the first season in under 20 minutes. In episode 1, Ego invites 300 players from across the country.
Like, I'm assuming he either... It's a combination of like he didn't wear his glasses, he probably had longer hair, and was more muscular. Because obviously he's just been eating ramen and stuff, crunching numbers. So he's like really, really skinny. Right? But if Noah's saying that was his rival, he had to have been popular.
To be part of a secret experiment. Having done some research, he believed that these 300 are the best strikers under the age of 18, and among them was Ryosuke Kira. Recently, Kira scored a dramatic winning goal for his high school and was invited to play for one of Japan's
And Kira was supposed to be important, bro. Then immediately got sidelined.
Youth teams. The media also refers to him as the jewel of Japanese soccer, but once he arrived at the meeting, Kira was disgusted by Ego's plan. To put it simply, Ego wanted all of them to abandon their current teams to join him in a high-tech facility called Blue Lock. Inside of Blue Lock, they would all undergo special training, with the weakest players being eliminated until only one person remains. From Ego's perspective, Japan's current squad cares way too much about teamwork, when what they really need is a striker who cares about nothing but scoring goals. In other words, Japan needs a striker with a massive ego, someone willing to destroy the dreams of everyone else so that he can become the best in the world. At first, none of the students here were willing to go along with this, with the one exception being Yoichi Isagi. For context, a few days earlier, it was his team who lost against Kira, but the loss could have been avoided.
The craziest part too was Isagi is supposed to be normal, but he was like, in my opinion, like the star of his team, dog. He just passed the ball around a lot. Like, they could have won the game, but his friend whiffed because Isagi decided to pass.
If Isagi had a bigger ego. To be specific, there was one moment where he could have easily scored, but instead of taking the shot, he passed it to his teammate, who then fumbled. After hearing what Ego said about scoring goals no matter what, Isagi ran to join Blue Lock, with everyone else soon following behind him. Inside this facility, they had no access to the outside world, and were each given uniforms with a number on it. These numbers represent each player's rank, based on how good Ego perceives them to be. However, the ranks can change based on future performance. By the end of Blue Lock, the top 5 players will be registered to play for Japan in the upcoming Under-20 World Cup. On the flip side, all other players will be permanently banned from ever representing Japan, no matter...
I didn't know about that, because he basically lied to them and told them there were other, like, camps. But then at the second selection, he's like, yeah, there's no other facilities. This is the facility. And then the top 11.
How talented they might be. This brings us to the first test, which was a game of tag where the loser gets kicked out of Blue Lock. Inside this room was a total of 12 players, and whoever gets hit by the ball then becomes it. When the timer runs out, that person's career will be over unless they're able to tag someone else. Interestingly, the size of this room is the exact same as a penalty area, aka the area where over 70% of goals are scored. Therefore, the test is designed to see the area where over 70% of...
You can see it a lot better in the manga, how small it is. Like, if we line people Shoulder to shoulder, wingspan not included. Uh, you could probably get somewhere near like 200 people in here with no space left, right? But like you can see how small it is because if you include that wingspan, you're not fitting like more than like 40 people in here. So imagine how this would feel in game, like this being your space. There's people moving. There's someone like closing in on you, like in this situation.
Goals are scored.
It's way better
Therefore, the test is
illustrated than
designed to
the
see
manga.
which strikers can
It
position
looks way
themselves
bigger in
in
the
the
anime.
area in order to hit their rivals while also avoiding being hit themselves. With just 20 seconds remaining, Isaki was the one who was tagged, but he
Yeah.
had an easy chance to save himself by hitting the lowest ranked player in Blue Lock. That said, Isaki realized that to become the best in the world, he had to change and actually beat
To be fair though, low key, knowing the future, like knowing how this plays out, yes, his ego is important. So he should have got Kira, but then he should have got rid of Ikaguri. Like he should have got Kira. But mind you, he needed Bachira's help. But let's say he could get Kira with his own skill. And then in that moment Kira stunned, he should have taken the ball and got Ikaguri. Cause as they say, you get stronger with like first competition. And if you've watched Ninjago, you know ball about how as iron sharpens iron, brother sharpens brother. The whole premise of Blue Lock is they're like competing against each other. So the higher the competition left past this first part, the more competition you're gonna have going in. You feel me? But having technically a better teammate like Kira would make things easier for them in terms of like matchmaking.
someone stronger than himself. That's why he turned around to find a new opponent, but in a bizarre turn of events, the ball was taken from him by Bachira. Like Isaki, Bachira was looking for a strong opponent and spent the final 10 seconds trying to tag Kira.
Oof.
When that failed, he then strangely
Bachira
passed the
demon,
ball to
boy.
Isaki, who technically didn't have to
Putting
touch
foot
it.
to
If
face,
Isaki
nigga.
had just
PTA,
avoided the
man.
ball, then Bachira would have been eliminated. But with his ego now kicking in, Isaki smashed the ball into the room's highest ranked player. This
Get up
kick
right
ended
here.
Kira's career with the
Look.
national team. Smashed the ball into the room.
Ball had time to bounce. Get up right here. Kick that at somebody, bro.
Room's highest ranked player. This kick ended Kira's career with the national team before it even really began, and he was forced to leave Blue Lock that same day. Meanwhile, Isaki and Bachira were praised by Ego for displaying the levels of selfishness that he's looking for in a striker. Although
gotta
Yuichi didn't say this out
hungry to
loud,
develop.
ruining Kira's dreams gave him an intense feeling of excitement, one that he didn't fully understand.
That
3
adrenaline,
days
boy.
later, Bachira revealed that he knew Isaki would kick the ball because he sensed that there was a monster inside him. From Bachira's point of view, all true strikers have monsters that guide their choices on the pitch, and he believed that deep down, Isaki has one as
instinctual
well.
level,
Despite
actually.
that, both Isaki and Bachira were two of the lowest ranked players in Blue Lock, along with everyone else who survived this game of tag.
yeah.
These 11 lowest players would be known as Team Z, and inside of their building there were 4 other teams. Because Blue Lock is so big, it had way more buildings than just this one, but for now the show only focused on the building with the
Yeah.
weakest players.
Z was theirs. V. I don't know why he just said. Oh, he said 4 other teams. Yeah, V was Zantetsu, Naga, and them because they have like the most talent. W, I believe, was the Wanima brothers, and then I think Y was the one with That's like the second weakest team. It had Nico and the dude with the mohawk, which makes Team X by default Barrow's team because Barrow is kind of a top tier. It's just like why would Barrow be X while the other dude is W? While like the Wanderer brothers were, I think they were W. But realistically, based off power, this was Naginum's team. This was Barrow's team. This was the Wanderer brothers, and this was the team Isagi and him faced in the first episode.
In order to survive, Team Z, Y, X, W,
Oh,
and V would
I
all
was right. Barrow was on X. Okay.
play each other in a tournament known as the first selection.
Just on IQ,
The idea
a
was
little
that the
bit
two
memory type
best
shit.
performing teams would
Top
get to
tier
stay,
predicts.
while everyone not on those teams would be sent home. To make things interesting though, Ego made one exception, which is that for each losing team, the player with the most goals wouldn't get kicked out. This created a scenario where players now didn't have to care about winning, instead all you had to do to survive was score.
Yeah, and it's crazy too because it kind of makes it to where like midfielders and defenders aren't like created. Because if he was like, oh, the player with the most points or something, say the points were based off interceptions, shots, block, stuff like that, then it would be like, okay, he's got to be a better player, and like that would create better overall players. He's like, no, people with the most goals, like that's the only thing that matters here.
More goals than your teammates. The impact of this was seen in the first match between Team X and Team Z, where players from both sides fought their own teammates for the ball. Eventually though, this chaos was ended thanks to Baru, who's a striker on Team X that calls himself the King. Using his superior skills, Baru took control of the game, scoring an amazing solo goal in the process. This single goal filled the rest of Team X with confidence, and soon they were all working together with Baru as the main man. Before the match, Ego suspected something like this would happen because the best strikers all have a unique talent that lets them create goals from nothing. Those goals then serve as the foundation to turn chaos into order, and this was proven correct when Team X eventually went 5-0 up. Towards the end of the match, Izuki then made a pass that no one else predicted, enabling his teammate Kunigami to blast it into the net. Although this goal didn't change the result, it hinted at what their unique talents might be. For Kunigami, his weapon is his unrivaled shooting power with his left foot, and for Izuki, he has incredible space.
One thing I will say about Turtle Quirk is I love like the creative aspect, and I like that besides just adding like these headers, he kind of draws these like chibi versions.
His unrivaled shooting power with his left foot, and for Izuki, he has incredible spatial awareness. This awareness of his surroundings allows him to sense a goal before it happens, but in the next match, he comes up against someone with the same ability.
Nico.
Over on Team Y, Nico used spatial awareness to organize the rest of his teammates, enabling them to efficiently defend and counterattack. Thanks to his influence, Team Y took the lead. However, in the second half, Izuki made the first move to stop him. In the process, Yuichi set up the equalizer for Team Z, and the score stayed at 1-1 until the final minute of the game. During that final minute, Nico had the perfect chance to score, but because he's like Izuki, he passed the ball instead of shooting. Before the pass could reach its target, it was intercepted by Yuichi, since he knows exactly how Nico thinks. Because the difference between...
Realistically speaking, if you're thinking about these matches in real time, passing to your teammate in that type of situation is like a guaranteed goal. Because, well, your teammate can miss. But the power you generate from your kick is, say, a limited number. Mind you, Nico's not like the strongest. When you're passing the ball, so when the ball is already moving in a direction, right, and then you're kicking it, you're changing that force, which gives it more force. It's like people standing for it is different from their running for it. I'm stopping, and I'm about to take this shot. It's not going to be as strong if me and my teammate have the same strength, versus me passing the ball to my teammate who's running and ready to kick that bit. You feel me? And then, especially because the GK has to realize that with the ball, it's a threat. But the teammate is also a threat. So it makes it harder to figure out how they're going to block. So it's not the worst decision. But in this case, Isagi's like, you know what I'm saying? You're too logical. While Ego's producing strikers. And you got to realize being logical doesn't mean always being right. But it means being very detailed in the way you think. And if that foundation is based on something that is wrong, it's going to lead you to being wrong. And that is a mistake people make. They think because they're wrong often. I'm stupid. No, you're highly intelligent. You're good at deducing things. But if one piece here is wrong, this next deduction is likely to be wrong, which means in the end result, which people normally only care about for some reason, it's going to be wrong.
Between them is that for Izuki, passing the ball in high school was his biggest regret, and in this moment, he abandons that old version of himself. With help from Kunigami and Bachura, Izuki launches a counterattack, and in the final seconds scores the winning goal for Team Z. As Ego watches on, Yuichi then walks down the length of the pitch and starts aura farming right in front of Nico. This pure egoism is exactly what Jinpachi was looking for, and he promotes Izuki to become the highest ranked player on Team Z. After his rank increases, it inspires the rest of his teammates to try harder, and in their next game against Team W, a guy called Kuon scores 3 goals. Kuon's weapon is his ability to jump high, and up until this point, he'd been the one organizing their game plan. Interestingly though, Ego wasn't impressed by his first half hat-trick.
If he was on time, he could have been, besides hat-trick and headering, he could have been bicycle kicking, boy. He could have been going crazy.
And that's because Kuon was cheating. The night before, Kuon had approached Team W and told them all about Team Z's tactics and individual weapons.
Mind you, Team W ain't even the compiest team. The compiest team is Team V. Hold on. Do my alphabet. B, W, X, Y. Yeah, Team V. And that's when we're not getting them. So you're going against the second strongest team. Your immediate thought is giving up. You had no chance of making it, little bro.
In exchange, they agreed to just let him score 3 goals so that Kuon could become the top scorer for Team Z. As the top scorer, he'd remain at Blue Lock no matter what, even if the rest of his team was eliminated.
He would not have
In the
survived.
second half of the match, Kuon then sabotages Team Z by making a series of mistakes that allows Team W to equalize. With the score tied at 3-3, Kuon
Now it's a
then
real
literally
game.
switches sides,
Yeah,
and the game suddenly becomes 12 players versus 10. With this overwhelming disadvantage, Team Z quickly concedes a goal, and it was hard for them to strike back since the opposition knew all of their tactics. Regardless, Isiki in particular refused to give up, and he angrily tried to win the game seemingly by himself. His
Throws that
pure
Chigiri
determination
out the way,
gave
boy.
inspiration to Chigiri, who's someone that recently recovered from a serious knee
think him
injury.
and Bachra
Ever since
locked
his
in this
injury,
game.
Chigiri had been afraid to run at full speed, hence why no one at Blue Lock saw him as a huge threat.
Yeah.
However, with time running out, he decides to give everything he has, even if it
Lock
means
in.
getting injured again, and sprints down the
Well,
pitch
we
at
caught
top
a little
speed.
bit.
Naturally, Team W had no idea this was coming, and when
Now they're
Chigiri
kinda
receives
cooked.
the ball, he blitzes past all of them to score a last-minute
percent.
goal. This goal caused the game to end in a tie, with Chigiri regaining his confidence and
Bachra
declaring that
scores
he'll
the
be
next
the
game,
best
okay.
striker on
He
the
scores
planet.
in V.
Following the match, Team Z still had a chance to stay at Blue Lock, but to survive, they'd have to win their final game. The problem is that this final game was against Team V,
Strongest team.
who were unbeaten and had destroyed Nico's team by 8 goals to 0. As if that wasn't bad enough, Kuon refused to help his teammates during this final match, meaning
Straight
Team Z
snake,
needed a
boy.
plan to beat the strongest team with only 10 men. To accomplish this, Isiki and the gang
Orochimaru
studied
standing
footage of Team V
slimy.
and discovered that most of their goals are created by Reo Mikage. Reo is the son of a
playmaker.
billionaire businessman who cares more about playing football than he does about taking over his dad's company. Within Team V, his job is to give passes to Seishiro
boy got a
Nagi,
big ol'
who's his
forehead.
best friend and a natural genius. Unlike Reo, Nagi has no interest in football and was shown to leave practice early so he could play
And this nigga is so lazy. Like, I don't feel like chewing my food. Is there a way to eat my food like more efficiently? This Nagi is the epitome of laziness.
games on his phone. That said, Nagi's natural talent is superior to all players in this building, making him Team V's biggest threat. In response, Team Z's plan was to focus mainly on defense and then occasionally counterattack with a long-range pass. If successful, this plan would allow Team Z to score every
Bachra's
now and
really good
then
at passing.
while preventing
That was
Nagi
hinted
from
here.
getting any goals. Early on, the plan nearly works when Team Z hits the frame of the goal,
Cooked.
but in the next play, Reo decides to replicate
Let me
what
try
he
that.
just saw. By launching a surprise long-range pass,
Good thing he's
Nagi then
Kisa.
expertly controls it and fires Team V into the lead. Refusing to stop there, Team V then score again and
Crazy
again,
amount of balance
putting
and
themselves
control.
3 goals up in around 20 minutes. With defeat for Team Z looking certain, Bachra
have to
just
be even
abandons the
more
plan and decides to test the limits of his weapon.
Bachra's him,
Bachra's weapon is
I
his
made 2
pure
edits.
dribbling ability, and from kickoff, he dribbles past all of Team V to score this wonder goal. This move
Bang,
inspires the
dude.
rest of his teammates
chip
to
shot,
evolve,
boy.
with Kunigami blasting in a shot from beyond his usual range, which was then followed up by Chigiri getting the equalizer. As Ego watches on, he comments that extreme situations will force a
That's
striker
what
to
soccer's
awaken
for.
and figure out what they can really do. For Team
This-
Z, they
you know what's
had to
crazy about that
force a
scene?
striker to
This nigga has their stats up like he's watching a 2K game. Like he's playing 2K live. Power, vision, speed. Patterson's playing FIFA.
awaken and figure out what they can really do. For Team Z, they had to surpass their limits to have a chance of staying at Blue Lock, and for Team V, the possibility of defeat also had an effect.
Yeah.
For the first time ever, Nagi felt like he should
nervous.
actually try, and he
Yeah.
scores from a nearly impossible angle. After this, the two teams went back and forth as Kunigami equalized to make it 4-4, and then Nagi put himself in a position to make it 5-4. Before he could take this winning shot though,
What?
Kuon surprisingly jumped in to foul him.
Record.
Until this point, Kuon had stayed out of the game completely, because as we know, Ego's
bro.
rules made it easy for him to not get involved. By going out of his way to foul Nagi, it meant that Kuon now received a red card, and the consequence was that he'd be kicked out of Blue Lock if Team Z didn't win. The reason he did it though is because back home, Kuon plays
His
for a
team
team
didn't
where
try.
no one takes football seriously except him.
That's so hard because like he did that slimy. He's still a snake. I don't forgive him, but he did that grimy because it's like the team was gonna lose. They suck. I'm like the carry, right? Isagi becomes the carry, but he doesn't think Isagi's good either. So he's like, okay, I'm gonna get these goals in. So even if my team sucks, I can still make it. But then he realizes like these can do without me. I'm like the useless teammate. And then
At Blue Lock, however, his teammates were all giving everything to beat Team V, and so Kuon finally chose to stop being selfish. Thanks to his sacrifice, Team Z were able to have one final attack in which Isaki awakened to a new level. Beyond his spatial awareness, Isagi figured out that his true weapon is his direct shot, just like the one he used against Nico's team. With this knowledge, he combined both of his unique talents to score an epic goal that won the game for Team Z. Isagi's goal meant that everyone here survived their first selection, while the 3 losing teams would have to leave Blue Lock permanently. The only exceptions were Baro, Nico, and a guy called Wanema, who all survived due to being their team's top scorers. Now, moving on to the second selection, Ego revealed that up until now, the rankings he gave them were almost completely fake. Remember, at the start of Blue Lock, we were told that Isagi's building had the worst players out of the 300, but this was just a lie that Ego made up to motivate them. His reason...
Peep game. 5 teams, about 11 people per team, right? Because it's soccer. It's only 55 people there, like 60 people. Oh yeah, Blue Lock is 300 people. No, brother. You're being capped.
Reasoning was that many of the greatest players used football as a way to escape poverty, meaning that to them, the game was literally a matter of life and death. Because these Japanese schoolboys didn't have the same hunger, he wanted to destroy whatever confidence they had, and then force them to give everything to survive. Ego told this lie to players in all 5 buildings of Blue Lock, and so everyone, even the players we haven't seen, everyone was told
in the second selection. I'm tweaking.
that they were ranked the lowest. The second selection, though, they would all get new ranks based on how quickly they finished this shooting drill. For context, the second selection has multiple different stages, with the first one...
That was gonna be misinformation out my ass, but basically, there are 5 buildings, but he told every building they were the worst, so they would work harder, basically. So, put it into perspective of just like Reen or Shido. They already know they're tough. They're being told there are people significantly better than them. Essentially, that's what it is for everyone, right? So even though Nagi ended up being like top, whatever, to be like one of the people that they needed to beat in like the 3rd selection or the 4th, it's like, you feel me? He was that level to begin with, almost, you know?
One being a shooting drill against this AI hologram. Unlike before, this test had to be done totally alone, as players had to use their unique weapons to score 100 goals in 90 minutes. In the process, Isagi evolved his direct shot even more, and quickly moved on to the second stage. The purpose of this stage was simple. Essentially, all the players had to do was form a team of 3 people. As soon as Isagi arrived, Bachira teamed up with him before he could even say yes, and their plan was to wait for either Kunigami or Chigiri to be their 3rd member. However, in a shocking twist, Nagi volunteered to join them after being intrigued by Isagi's potential. Of course, in order to join them, he had to leave Ryo behind, who doesn't take it too well. Isagi's new team then progressed to the 3rd stage, where they come...
This Ryo is the reason calling them gay is like not far-fetched, bro. This was acting like it was Marvin's room, man. It's like, you're gonna betray me? Bro, you're like Kisei. You just magically mastered every single sport. This is the one sport you can't master, and there's millions of people you can team up with. But he leaves you, and you just sit there and cry.
Face to face with Rin Itoshi, aka the #1 player of Blue Lock. Rin is the younger brother of Sai Itoshi, who's a genius midfielder who plays for the youth team of Real Madrid, who in this show are called Real, I guess for copyright reasons, but it's meant to be the biggest club in Spain. According to Rin, the only reason he arrived at Blue Lock is to surpass his older brother, and for the 3rd stage, his teammates were Aryu, who's ranked in 2nd, and Tokimitsu, who's ranked in 3rd. As the strongest team, you'd expect that no one would want to play them, but there's a good reason why Isagi challenged them to a match. The way it works is that to move on to the next stage, all you have to do is win 1 game, but Ego made a rule saying that the winning team gets to steal 1 player from the losing team. From Isagi's perspective, his ego...
So realistically, ego aside, I look, you need your help in ALS. That's the last reaction. So once this is done, I gotta see what the guys is on though. I'd still help you out for like an hour or so. But this is like my shortest stream of the week. Tomorrow I'm gonna be doing a little bit longer than 12 hours. But because I'm not gonna have as much game time, I can help you. I just can't like grind for like hours and hours on end. I can definitely put an hour into it because I'm only gonna have 3 hours of like gaming time in general. I think this stream, because I still need to edit, because I'm not gonna be able to stream. Oh, I didn't put it in the Discord. I'm not gonna be able to stream after the 20th, so I'm basically just going crazy with my streaming now and these reactions. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, I like have to like, you know what I'm saying, lock in.
Phil was telling him to add Rin to their team, and he was willing to fight the strongest to make that happen. At the very beginning of their match, Nagi sets up Yuichi for a direct shot, which crashes into the goal to make it 1-0. However, Rin immediately fires back by scoring straight from kickoff, and shortly after, Aryu scores another with his incredibly long limbs. With the score at 2-1, Tokimitsu uses his physical strength to blow Isaki out the way and scores a third goal for his team. It's worth pointing out that to win in the second selection, a team has to score 5 goals, and so Tokimitsu put them in a really good position. To have any chance of coming back, Nagi suggests a change of tactics, but during this new plan, Rin showed he had greater spatial awareness than everyone, including Isaki. The game ends when Rin curls in 2 more goals, one coming directly from a corner kick, and another one coming from outside the box. Having won, his team chooses to steal Bachara, leaving Nagi and Isaki on the verge of being kicked out of Blue Lock. The only way for both of them to survive was to win a match against another team who'd recently lost a player like they did. For the first time though, Isaki wouldn't be able to rely on Bachara's passes, which forced him to evolve his individual skills. In the end, he and Nagi played a close game against Baru and a guy called Naruhaya.
This Naruhaya was talking so spicy, bro. He was like, yeah, man, let's just be real. Regardless of whoever loses, we're the weakest, so we're not going to get chosen. I'm going to cook you, though. Your buns. He was talking so crazy, bro.
With the score tied at 4-4, Isaki evolved by copying Naruhaya's weapon and using his movements to sneak past Baru and score the winning goal. After this loss, Baru could have genuinely been sent home from Blue Lock, but Isaki decides to save him by adding him to their team. The 3 of them then return to the third stage, where they get challenged to a...
Yeah, because he's stronger, but he thought Isagi was going to move like how Rayo thought Nagi was going to move. He thought he was going to pick Naruhaya because they played together before.
Match by this super team. Team Red was Chigiri, Kunigami, and Rayo was desperate to prove that Nagi made a mistake by leaving him. Meanwhile, Isaki's team was Team White, and at the start of the match...
Also, picking up Chigiri was such a good move, because if you think about the spacing of it, their team has Baro, who has a mid-range shot, so already have a Kunigami clone. They have Nagi, who's really good at trapping, and has decent dribbling and shooting. And then you have Isagi, who's like their spatial awareness guy. They need Chigiri to be able to space out the floor a lot more. It's also like, why did Rayo she was like, well, y'all on Isagi's team. Come on, bro.
Baru selfishly refused to pass the ball. This led to Kunigami and Rayo doubling up on him, and when Rayo stole it, he then provided an assist for Chigiri to score. Following that, Baru refused to pass again, even though Isaki was in a great position, and for a second time, Team Red scored from a counter-attack. In response, Isaki started giving all of his passes to Nagi instead, and Team White did score a goal without any involvement from the King. As the match progressed, Yuichi then evolved his tactics and decided to use Baru as a decoy. Him being a decoy means a couple different things. For example, Isaki would use Baru's body to hide his own movements, he'd position himself to take the ball when he knew Baru would lose it, and he'd act like he was about to pass to Baru before actually passing to Nagi. Yeah. With this method, Team White were able to score.
We've used that on Rematch a couple times. It's like you're forcing the attention this way, so naturally if they're too caught up in the flow of the play, they're gonna bunch up on this side because you're putting the attention on this side. They want to stop all passing lanes on this side where you have a guy on the right side of the field. Easy pass, easy bucket.
Scored 2 more goals without any assistance from Baru, and Baru felt so inferior that he finally passed to Isaki, who scored the 4th. In a moment of pure egoism, Yuichi then turns around and calls Baru a donkey instead of thanking him for the assist. Sick of being treated like nothing, Baru has an awakening and uses some Ronaldo chops to blitz past the whole of Team Red. His rampage ends with the winning goal for Team White, and after the match, they decide to steal Chigiri for the next round. Isaki's belief was that only Chigiri gives them a chance of beating Rin, and as they leave to the next stage, Nagi breaks up with Rayo for good.
That's a good point, because they're all really strikers. Rayo is pretty lackluster, and if they take Rayo, Nagi's gonna plateau. Even though Rayo, as like a player's kit, is probably better there, but...
In episode 20, Isaki's Team White faces off against Rin's Team Red in the final stage, and just like their first match, Team White takes an early lead before Rin casually levels the score. Thanks to Isaki's evolution though, he was the only one on the pitch to understand how Rin thinks, but the problem is that he just didn't have the physicals to stop him. On the next play, the number 1 player steals the ball from Yuichi and basically orders Bachara.
Rin has height, power, the passing.
to create a goal, which he does. This causes Nagi to get fired up, and he acknowledges that losing before has changed him into someone that actually wants to improve. In the very next attack, he tricks Rin with this fake shot before scoring a wonder goal to level the game. Rin responds by showing off his Puppet Master Soccer, in which he controls the field by creating these scenarios and then accurately predicting how people will react. The end result was another goal for Team Red, putting them 3-2 up. However, one person Rin couldn't predict was Baru, who on the next play steals the ball from Isagi, his own teammate, and then levels the game. Because of the intensity of this match, nearly everyone started to feel tired, except for Tokimitsu, who has unnaturally high stamina. As a result, Rin used Tokimitsu to win him a free kick, and scored directly from it. At this point, Team Red only needed one more goal to win, and so Isagi had to evolve. By now, his mind was working on the same level as Rin, and so to turn things around, Isagi calculated what Rin expects him to do, and then subverted those expectations by scoring a backheel direct shot. With the score being level, the next goal would decide the winner, and during the match, Isagi takes a direct shot that nearly goes in but is blocked by Rin at the last second. For Bachara, he felt like both of these players were so far above him, and that to reach their level, he needs to think for himself instead of listening to the monster. This awakening leads to him destroying Team White with his dribbling skills, but as he goes to score the winning goal, it gets blocked by Isagi. Luckily, the deflected ball falls to Rin, who blasts it in and wins the game for Team Red.
This was so good.
Impressed by Isagi's performance, Rin steals him, and together they move on to the third selection. There, they had to play a game against the World 5, who were famous professional strikers. This is the part where I say who I think they're meant to be in real life, and in my opinion, Adam Blake is clearly meant to be Harry Kane, Dada Silva is probably based on Adriano, Diego Luna could be based on either Guti or Fernando Torres, Pablo Cabazos might be Julian Alvarez or Dybala, and of course, Julian Loki is Kylian Mbappe. In the final episode of Season 1, the World 5 casually destroys Rin's team by 5-1, and then report back to Ego about who they were most impressed by. Naturally, to hire these players, it cost millions for each one, on top of the millions that it cost to make Blue Lock in the first place, and the head of Japan's football union decides that he wants to shut down Blue Lock. Days later, Isagi's team is joined in the third selection by the others who survived, including his friends from Team White, as well as Nico, Rayo, and some former members from Team Z. Sadly, among these final 35 players, Kunigami wasn't there, as he was defeated and left behind by a guy called Ryusei Shido. With everyone here, Ego reveals a dramatic change in plans. To save Blue Lock, they have to win a match in 3 weeks' time against Japan's under-20 team, which now includes Sai Itoshi. If Blue Lock can win, then they will become Japan's new under-20 team, but if they lose, then the program will be shut down forever. The season finishes with Isagi realizing that this one game can change his whole life, as Ego reassures them.
Okay, he's not really going to talk about this video. He's not going to talk about E20 joint. Alright, man. Shouts out to Turtle Quirk for the amazing video about Blue Lock and how it is an unknown masterpiece. As always, Discord community is linked down in the description. Make sure you tap in with that. It'll keep you notified every time I post a YouTube video. It's twice daily. And you'll be notified every time I go live on the Purple app, known as Twitch. As always, I know what time to find me next. And peace.